Yes, get ready for the legal dictation containing 480 words at the speed of 80 words per minute. Let's start. 3, 2, 1, start. Ahimsa has been part of the Indian religious tradition for centuries. Hindu, Jain, and Buddhist. It was Gandhi's genius that transformed what had been an individual ethic into a tool of social and political action. This he did in the course of his 20-year long struggle against racialism in South Africa. Since 1894, he had been pleading with the colonial regime for the removal of inequities, curbs, and disabilities from which Indian immigrants in Natal and Transvaal suffered. He made little headway. In 1906, an exceptionally humiliating law was enacted for registration of Indians in the Transvaal. Gandhi found he had reached a dead end. The colonial government in Pretoria, supported by the dominant European community, was adamant the government of India was indifferent and the imperial government in London reluctant to intervene. A stage was reached in Gandhi's agitation when something more than reasoning and persuasion were demanded. It was at this critical juncture that he stumbled upon a new technique of fighting social and political injustice. He called it Satyagrah, holding on to truth. Its principles were to gradually evolve in the ensuing years. Its author was a man for whom theory was the handmaiden of action. Of one thing, Gandhi had no doubt: it was to be the method without hatred and without violence. During the next 8 years, he used this method with a measure of success until 1914, when he reached an agreement with the South African government and left for India. It was as the author and sole practitioner of Satyagraha that he entered the Indian political scene in 1919-20, which he was to dominate for the next 3 decades. If the Indian National Congress had not accepted his basic tenet of non-violence in 1920, he would have had nothing to do with its struggle for liberation from British rule. I would like to repeat to the world times without number, Gandhi said in 1931, that I will not purchase my country's freedom at the cost of non-violence. 9 years later, in the midst of the Second World War, when he was asked what he would do if India became independent during his lifetime, he replied, "If India became free, in my lifetime, and I have still energy left in me. I would take my due share, though outside the official world, in building up the nation strictly on non-violent lines. We must remember that Gandhi applied his method of non-violent resistance not only against foreign rule but against social evils such as racial discrimination and untouchability. Indeed, he claimed that non-violence lay at the root of every one of his activities, and his mission in life was not merely the freedom of India but the brotherhood of men. His satyagraha was designed not only for India but for the whole world. Stop. Yes, get ready for the general matter dictation containing 480 words at the speed of 80 words per minute. Let's start. 3 seconds. Start. So, all these difficulties were there in the way of Home Minister, but I find that by his persuasion he has been able to win over all the chief ministers who, in the conference immediately preceding the last one, agreed to it in principle, and in the subsequent conference they agreed to it. It appears obviously in toto, and hence we have before us this resolution supported by the chief ministers of all the states. Sir, for that I want to congratulate most sincerely and heartily the Honorable the Home Minister. Now, sir, so far as the merits of this resolution are concerned, I do not think it is necessary for me to elaborate on them because during the last 4 years or so, ever since the publication of the report of the States Reorganization Commission, many eminent men all over the country, eminent administrators, and persons who had experience of administration, including the retired controller and auditor general, were of the opinion that more all India services should be created. Our Honorable the Prime Minister, as also our Vice President, have on more than one occasion expressed themselves definitely in favor of having more All India services. Last year, sir, about the month of October, when addressing the Indian Police Service officers when they were going out after having had their training for a year, he expressly said that if national integration was to be maintained, it was necessary to have more All India services. That being so, I think there is not much need for us to emphasize the necessity and the utility for having more All India services. Sir, in the interest of efficiency and also in the interest of integrity, it is absolutely necessary that we should have these 3. All India services as also some others. The major problem these days before us is that successful implementation of the development programs has to be carried through. It is not enough that we should have big schemes. It is not enough that we should allocate large sums for the implementation of those schemes, but it is necessary that we should have competent personnel to effectively implement our schemes so that in a short time we may be able to carry forward our country to economic prosperity all round. In the past, during the pre independence period, we had quite a number of all India services. But then, when we framed our constitution, we dispensed with the others, retaining only two. It appears to me that necessity has now arisen for reorganization of the All India services and to have more All India services. Now, I would like also to mention the question about scholarships. It was pointed out that certain scholarships, especially to the children of the working class, should be given. Stop over.